On this edition of Commuter Connections, we talk to MTA Administrator Kevin Quinn about the agency's enhanced safety efforts and how the MTA Maintenance Division is working behind the scenes to implement them. We also get an update on the Central Maryland Regional Transit Plan, and we visit the Baltimore Farmers Market and Bazaar. Also, MTA police are teaming up with law enforcement agencies for Sleeves Up Maryland. All here on Commuter Connections. Hello, I'm Brittany Marshall, and welcome to this edition of Commuter Connections. As transit service resumes to more normal schedules, I spoke with MTA Administrator Kevin Quinn about the current and future plans for operating transit during this health emergency. Thank you, Kevin, for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
And could you tell me, as normal service resumes, what's the key message that you want customers to know about MTA right now?
Sure. So as you know, we've entered stage 2 of Governor Hogan's recovery plan. What that means is a gradual reopening of businesses and of workplaces. And for MTA, it's our part, our sort of obligation to our riders to really get people where they need to go as those workplaces are opening up. Of course, we've got to do that safely. And safety is priority number one for us. And we really have been thinking of this as, safety for our operators and safety for our riders as well. That's been a big focus of ours over the past few months throughout this whole time of COVID that we're all living in.
And as we continue this health emergency, of course, from the start to right now, there's been a lot of enhanced daily cleaning. Could you tell me a little bit about the efforts that has been going on the different transit modes?
Sure. So many people are focused right now on cleaning, and we are no different. And so we're really prioritizing cleaning in a number of ways. So one is on all of our vehicles. So, every single one of our 750 buses in our bus fleet is being cleaned daily. All of our light rail vehicles, all of our metro vehicles are being cleaned daily. And in fact, many of them are receiving midday additional cleanings or at the end of the line. So those rail vehicles are seeing additional cleanings, as well as our light rail and our metro stations themselves. Those stations need to be kept clean. We're putting a special emphasis on those high touch point areas. So think of our ticket vending machines that are out at light rail stations, or our fare gates at metro stations, or even on buses where folks are holding on to the bars. We're really focused on those high touch point areas to be sure those are especially clean for our riders. Something that has kind of plagued our riders and our buses for years is that we have cloth seats on a lot of our buses. And so we had planned on replacing those with plastic seats over time, really just as new buses came in and we retired old buses. But what we're doing is we're accelerating that project. And so we're moving forward with a project to replace all of our cloth seats with plastic seats, which, as you can imagine, are just tremendously easier for us to clean and cleaner for our riders. We're also really cognizant of the air that's circulating inside the vehicles. And that's why we're investing in 200 air ionizers. We're piloting those out on our buses right now to test how best we can clean the air on those buses. We want to be sure that both our riders and our operators are breathing clean air. I want to remind our riders that face coverings are required on all of our vehicles. It's really important that our riders play a role as well in keeping everyone safe. We're also asking our riders to avoid touching the seats or the bars as much as possible. I understand that's tough, but touching surfaces the least amount as possible is important. Riders should be minimizing any unnecessary travel whenever possible. That's just not our riders. That's for you and I as well. For everyone out there, minimize unnecessary travel as much as possible. And lastly, we're just asking folks, if you're not feeling well, to stay at home. We are getting 89,000 face masks from the Federal Transit Administration. And so our transit ambassadors will be out distributing those face masks to our riders. It's a requirement, and we recognize that may be hard for some. We also want to be part of the solution there. And so we will be distributing those face masks. We'll be going out to a lot of our high ridership rail and rail stations and bus stops to hand out those masks.
And we spoke about riders, but let's talk about the operators and the employees, our heroes on the front lines who are out there every day. Kind of what are some of the safety measures in place for them?
Sure. So, our bus operators have shields, barriers that are in place now, and we're asking them to continue to use those barriers. We're going to be piloting some additional barriers, some additional safety measures there, that kind of a screen that can be pulled down that's pretty cool. We're playing with some really different ideas. Our employees have come up with some just tremendously creative solutions that I just couldn't be prouder of. Just as our riders are required to wear masks, so are our operators. And so we've prepared them with all the PPE that they would need, from masks to face shields to gloves, you name it, and we've made it available to them. On the buses themselves, also we are, one more thing we're asking riders to do as well is to use Charm Pass or Charm Card whenever possible, and really limit those cash fares. And our bus operators are also keeping themselves and riders safe by potentially bypassing stops if the bus is seeming to get overcrowded. We're trying to really avoid those overcrowding conditions as much as possible.
And all of these efforts, of course, are known and on MTA website. But what are ways that people can kind of find out what's required if they would like to get on the bus or need to get on the bus, of course, and different safety measures that are in place through MTA so they understand what's going on?
Yeah, the best place for information is our website, mta.maryland.gov. We have a coronavirus webpage that's set up that details a lot of what I just talked about. We're also always asking our riders to sign up for e-alerts, those email alerts that we send out whenever there's an issue on a line or on light rail or metro. And they can also sign up for any of our social media accounts on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter, where we also try as fast as we can to get alerts out on the system. And we use those as opportunities also to put out information that of what we are doing from a safety perspective.
And as this health emergency develops, we hope to get more updates from you, Kevin. Thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate it.
Sure. Thanks again for having me.
The Central Maryland Regional Transit Plan is a 25-year plan to define public transportation goals in our region. Recently, the draft of that plan received hundreds of comments from residents. And MTA Deputy Administrator Holly Arnold is here to tell us how important that plan is for the future of transportation.
Holly, welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Can you tell me exactly what is the Regional Transit Plan?
So the Central Maryland Regional Transit Plan is a 25-year plan to define the public transportation goals for what has been defined as the Central Maryland region. So that includes Baltimore City, Anne Arundel County, Baltimore County, Harford County, and Howard County. And so we're looking at what we want to accomplish in public transit over the next 25 years. We have 6 main objectives in the plan that really kind of focus on what we're going to improve when we implement the plan. So those include providing faster, more reliable service, growing ridership throughout the region, increasing access to jobs and opportunities, improving the customer experience, being equitable, and then making sure we're prepared for the future.
And I know you guys have been having meetings for over the past year, last year, 2019. Can you kind of tell me of how the group that creates this plan is put together?
Yeah, so the Central Maryland Regional Transit Plan was a requirement under Chapter 352 of the 2018 session of the General Assembly. So basically that means that they passed a bill that required us to do this plan, defining the plan region and what we're supposed to accomplish with it. And so it also created what is called the Central Maryland Regional Transit Plan Commission. So that group consists of 11 people. There are representatives from each of the 5 jurisdictions that I mentioned previously, as well as 4 appointees from the governor, 1 from the Senate president, and 1 from the Speaker of the House. So we've been working very closely with that group over the past little over a year to develop this plan, as well as with the jurisdictions, the transit agencies that exist in those jurisdictions. So we want to make sure that we're incorporating the thoughts and ideas from those locally operated transit systems. And finally, we're working with the Metropolitan Planning Organization in the region, the Baltimore Regional Transportation Board. So they're really kind of like a data holder for information in the region. And so we're using them to make sure that we get the data and the information that we need for the plan.
How important is it to have a plan like this one that kind of cultivates what transit can look like in the future?
I mean, it's really important. If you don't have a plan, how do you know where you're going? And so we're really excited that we have this plan that's being developed and finalized this year to set the direction, not just for MTA, but also for the local jurisdictions to really set out where we want to go and what we're going to accomplish over the next 25 years.
The draft plan was on the website, on our MTA website until June 18th. You guys were taking comments from the public. Can you tell me just kind of why you guys decided to get the comments from the public and what kind of feedback did you get?
Public involvement and public feedback is really important when you're developing a plan like this. There's a lot of things that, we have experience with, but we don't have necessarily the individual experience that our riders and customers have. And so we wanted an opportunity to put out a draft plan so that people had something to react to and tell us what they liked and didn't like about the plan. I think it's been really positive. We've received over 700 comments on the plan. Generally, most of them positive. I think people like the plan.
So what's next? What's next in the plan, and what is going to be happening for at least to the end of 2020?
Yeah, so the plan has to be completed October 1st, 2020 by the legislation. So we are kind of running to incorporate all of those comments right now and make sure that we get the feedback from the public and the commissioners incorporated. So that's going to be the focus over the next couple of months. We also want to start working towards implementation, right? So, it's one thing to have a plan. We don't want this to live on a shelf. And so we are creating an implementation team with the local jurisdictions and other stakeholders so that we can make sure that we're starting work on these initiatives now and can really hit the ground running once we have everything completed with the actual plan.
And so right now it's just preparing for when the actual plan will come out. And what happens when the actual plan comes out? Where can people find that?
So when the actual plan comes out, it will be available on our website, rtp.mta.maryland.gov. We'll also make hard copies available if anyone wants one. Hopefully when libraries reopen, we usually provide copies to the local libraries, and so we'll be sure to do that. And even during this time, when people haven't been able to participate in person, we've been mailing copies to anyone who wants one.
And has the pandemic had any effect on how you guys are able to get the plan to the public for the draft comments, or just be able to work together to make this plan happen?
Yeah, so we definitely were not anticipating a global pandemic when we were finalizing the plan. We had a lot of outreach that was planned to be in person, because it's really great to talk in person to people and you can have those conversations. So we switched pretty quickly to a lot of online outreach. Luckily, we were already using a website where people could provide comments, respond to those comments, kind of on Facebook, they could like or dislike a comment. And so that was really great in allowing people to talk directly on the plan and provide a lot of feedback there.
Is there any other information that is part of this RTP that you really think is important that our viewers hear?
Just that, we want them to check out the plan, be engaged throughout the process, and especially as we move into implementation. Engagement in the actual plan itself is helpful, but once we actually get to the boots on the ground implementation, we still need feedback and input from the public, and we want to make these projects the best that they can be.
Well, thank you, Holly. We hope to have you back when the plan is out and hear about these new plans and goals for our transit future. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rennie.
Coming up, a look at how the MTA police force is teaming up with other police agencies around the state for Sleeves Up Maryland. Stay with us.
As the nation's doctor, I often get asked, what should I do if I think I might have coronavirus?
People who are sick should stay home. You don't go to an emergency room, you don't go to a clinic. get on the phone and you ask for advice and instructions from your physician.
We don't want you to go into the ER or the doctor's office without talking to them first because you might spread coronavirus to someone else. Please visit coronavirus.gov for more information.
The MDOT Police Department has teamed up with other police agencies around the state for the Sleeves Up Maryland campaign. This is to promote the need for blood donations across the state. I spoke with MDOT Police Lieutenant Angela Stewart about the initiative.
Lieutenant Stewart, thanks for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Could you tell me exactly what is Sleeves Up Maryland?
Sleeves Up Maryland is an effort to get blood donations from state law enforcement employees of Maryland who want to honor the memory of those Marylanders who lost their lives to COVID-19 and to honor the service of all who helped fight it. It's a collaboration with the state police and other law enforcement agencies partnering with the American Red Cross of Maryland.
And what are the other state agencies that are involved?
We have 5 state agencies involved, and it's the Maryland Transit Administration Police, the Maryland State Police, the Maryland Transportation Authority Police, and the Maryland Capitol Police, and the Maryland Natural Resources Police.
Why is it so important that you all are part of this campaign?
Oh, it is important because it is the first state agency blood drive, and we want to honor and help our community. And blood supplies is at a critical shortage, and just one life-saving selfless donation can save as many as 3 people. So we want to get in there and help as much as we can.
And how have you seen the participation grow among the police force?
Yes, it has grown. Our goal pledge was 150. So far, as of today, we're up to 516 pledges so far, well beyond our expectations.
And do you expect more to roll in?
Yes, I expect more to roll in. The campaign started May 22nd, 2020, and it's going to end September the 1st of 2020. So I expect way more donations once this gets out to everybody.
How important is it to get the public involved?
It is very important to encourage everyone to participate in such a worthy cause.
And have you all been able to get your family, friends, and anyone else to be able to donate?
Yes, we contact, you talk to your family, you talk to your friends, your neighbors. If you are in the store, you happen to mention Sleeves Up Maryland, and people they ask, they say, what is that? And then you explain to them, and everybody wants to help.
Explain to me how people can get involved and how they're able to give those donations.
Okay. It's actually a virtual pledge due to social distancing compliance, and a reservation can be scheduled at any American Red Cross of Maryland donation center.
And for more information, where can people go?
For more information, people can go to the American Red Cross of Maryland website, #SleevesUpCampaign.
Thank you so much for joining us, Lieutenant Stewart. We really appreciate getting this information out about this important initiative.
Oh, thank you for having me.
And coming up, a summer staple in Baltimore is back in full swing. Stay with us.
Why should young people care about the spread of coronavirus? Well, we know that people with underlying medical conditions over the age of 60 are at highest risk, but they've got to get it from somebody.
So we're asking everyone to be selfless for others so that we can protect those who are most susceptible.
Not going to bars, not going to restaurants. It all just means physical separation so that you have a space between you and others.
For more information on how you can social distance, please go to coronavirus.gov.
The 43rd season of the Baltimore Farmers Market and Bazaar is in full swing. I spoke with Sam Hansen, the Farmers Market Manager, about what people can expect to see and what measures are in place to keep people safe.
Thanks for joining us, Sam. We really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
43rd season of the Baltimore Farmers Market and Bazaar. I know that, of course, it's totally different than some other years that you guys have had due to the unfortunate COVID-19 pandemic. Just tell us what people can expect for this year.
Yeah, sure. So the market, as you said, is definitely different this year. So we have some new safety measures in place, which include limiting the amount of folks in the market at one time. And in doing that, we've kind of condensed the market as well to one area. In that area, you'll still find all the farms that you love shopping with at market. And then some of the food vendors are there currently. And unfortunately, none of our art vendors are there at this time. But as the season progresses, we hope to include more and more of your favorite vendors from years past.
And tell us about some of the vendors we can see, some of the people who are there now selling goods.
Yeah, sure. So on the food side, you're going to find some of the food vendors that are doing prepackaged foods that you can just pick up and take home at the market. So you're going to find stuff like the Curry Shack. You're going to see Farm to Face, some of the other ones that aren't necessarily cooking on site. And then with farms, just about all of them are there currently. So whether you want to pick up some fresh fruit or some fixins for a salad or any of your favorite meats, they're all there now.
And with the situation with COVID-19, how important is it to have a farmer's market, to have fresh items available? I know that it is an essential market for the state.
Yeah, I think it's crucial to have within communities direct access to food grown in the area, and now being an outdoor place where you can get these essential items, it just makes it an even better option.
And for the safety of the people who come, the patrons, what are other things that have been put in place? I know we talked about the distancing.
Yeah, so we have mandatory masks at market for vendors and customers, and we have a line to enter the market on our busier times. We've been pretty good with our line, getting people through. Even at our most peak times, folks won't see more than 15 minutes of wait. And beyond that, there's just extra distance between the vendors. We've provided additional hand sanitizer stations and hand washing stations throughout the market.
And tell me a little bit about kind of the crowds that you all do expect.
Our crowds have definitely decreased this season, and so it feels comfortable. When you're in the market, it's not overwhelming. You're not shoulder to shoulder with folks. You can traverse comfortably and peruse all the offerings throughout.
And for those who do not know, tell me a little bit of history about the farmers market.
Sure. Well, as you had mentioned, this is our 43rd year. So that means we started back in 1977 under William Donald Schaefer. And you're still going to find some vendors at our market now that were there in our very first season.
So what times are they open? Where can people find it for those who have never been?
Sure. So our market is downtown. We are underneath the Jones Falls Expressway, which gives us nice cover from the weather. You'll find us on Sunday mornings from 7 a.m. to noon, and that's at the corner of Holiday and Saratoga Street. So for folks taking public transit, there's a few different lines of buses that'll stop by the market, including the blue, the yellow, and the red, as well as 54, the 67, 78. There's a bunch of them that stop all around the market.
So where can more people find information on the farmers market?
The primary source is going to be our website, which is promotionandarts.org. That's the Baltimore Office of Promotion and the Arts website, where you'll find a section for the farmers market, which has all our dates and maps.
Well, thank you so much, Sam, for joining us. We really appreciate it and for letting us know more about the farmers market in Bazaar. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Look forward to seeing you down there on Sunday mornings.
Would love it. Thank you.
As Major League Baseball finally gets into the swing of its 2020 season, we want to highlight a special milestone, the 100th anniversary of the Negro Leagues. Right in Baltimore, you'll find a museum dedicated to those who played the game. We took a visit to that museum earlier this year. Here's a look inside.
Let's take a stroll back in time. We are in the Hubert V. Simmons Museum of Negro Leagues Baseball, located at 10302 Grand Central Avenue in Owings Mills, Maryland. When you come in the door to the right, it's a ledger. It tells a story. On February the 13th in 1920, Rube Foster and a group of folk got together and they organized the beginning and they planted the seed of Negro League Baseball. And being that this is the 100th anniversary, we're celebrating throughout the year. On the second floor is a dedication to 3 African-American females who played in the Negro League. And people are unaware of the fact that there were 3 African-American women that played in the Negro League.
What it means to me personally is the fact that women played. And that in itself was phenomenal. And to be a part of history in this way is just wonderful. I think the lesson is that women played an important role in history, not just the Negro League, but in American history, and continue today to play an important role. It's just a sense of sisterhood, the fact that there were women before my time that were out there doing exciting things.
Jackie Robinson, everybody knows about Jackie, but they were players. Blue-collar players. They played way before Jackie's time that people don't know about. Those are the ones who planted the seed. Those are the ones who started the revolution.
I started out in the Independent League in 1955. I played from 1955 to 1960, so I had to go in the military. Started out with the Wilson All-Stars and making $10 a week. And indirectly, the Negro League was a big part in the civil rights movement, because they was doing all this peaceful stuff way before Martin Luther King started his peaceful marching. The Negro League ball player was traveling around through the country playing baseball peacefully. We played against a lot of the white teams, and we showed that we were just as good. We could compete on the same level, and they showed them that. So that's what people don't know. They don't understand that playing the game was equal.
The Negro Leagues, once upon a time, of course, it's our history and part of American history. Not just Negro League history, but American history. And it needs to be shared. So I implore you to come to the Hubert V. Simmons Museum of Negro League Baseball and learn about the history, and especially do some research on the 100th anniversary of Negro League Baseball.
This brings us to the end of another edition of Commuter Connections. Thanks for joining us. Stay safe. We'll see you next time.